I think what's going to kill you is if you do start off slow again, like you did against Indiana. Again, 10-10 at half. I know they pulled away, so if you're looking at the end score, Michigan won by 3 touchdowns, I think, 31-10. But you can't play with a team like Penn State like that. It's the same thing with Maryland. Like you can't do that. You can't be settling for field goals. You can't have your field goals blocked. JJ can't miss these guys deep. So it's going to be, the key is really just going to be for Michigan to not make any mistakes. And mistakes aren't just in the form of turnovers. Mistakes can be, again, a missed third down play, a missed tackle, which Michigan certainly has had the propensity to do this year, especially against this running back. Man. And that's where I think the key of the game is going to be for Michigan is how are their linebackers going to fare, and how is their defensive line going to fare against the Penn State offensive line? Because if Penn State is able to, if the running back is able to get to his name, Singletary, I think, yeah.
It's Singletary.
So if he's able to get to the second level of Michigan, Singleton. There we go. Sorry, the Buffalo Bills on my mind.
Yeah, wrong one. Nick Singleton is their running back.
If Singleton's able to get to the second level of this Michigan defense, then I think Michigan's going to have a really hard time winning this game. They're going to have to do a really good job of the 4 guys up front containing the run game and not letting him kind of get past that initial line of scrimmage, because if he gets one-on-one with Michigan's linebackers or safeties or corners, then I think it's trouble in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see because, Michigan has at least faced some tests defensively. Iowa, a very good defense that Michigan really didn't have too many problems with, was able to move the ball pretty much at will, scored on 4 of their first 5 drives. And when you have a tailback like Blake Corum, who's second nationally with 11 rushing touchdowns, he's third among all backs with 735 total yards. It really helps Michigan do what they want to do, which is control the ball and the clock and really just wear down the opponent. Penn State, they have a good rushing defense so far this year. They're ranked number 5 nationally. It's about a little under 80 yards per game that they allow on the ground. But so did Iowa before Michigan came in, and Michigan just ran all over them. So I'm curious to see, because Penn State really hasn't faced an offense that can move the ball on the ground the way Michigan can. Yes, they went into Auburn, and in the second half they were very impressive at Auburn. But Auburn wasn't moving the ball the way that Michigan is. Penn State really hasn't faced that many great offenses. The best offense that Penn State has faced is Ohio. And yeah, they dismantled Ohio in week 2 of the season, but Ohio is 28th in offense this year at just a little over 6.5 yards per play. The best offense that Michigan's faced, Maryland, they're 11th in the country at just over 7 yards per play. Meanwhile, defensively, Michigan is 4th in the country, allowing 3.87 yards per play. They beat Iowa, who was 3rd, allowing 3.83. Penn State 20th at 4.73. Just to show you these numbers, because Penn State, they haven't faced an offense like Michigan yet, and Michigan kind of has faced a good offense in Maryland, and Maryland gave them some battles. It really was, but Michigan still was able to weather the storm and come out with a victory. Penn State really hasn't done that yet against a team that can really match them the way that Michigan can. So it's going to be interesting to see. I agree with you that Michigan's front has to be the group that stops the running game, that stops Singleton. And we talked about it in the chat, and Paul was all over it as well, that he doesn't believe that the defensive backs can really handle the running game of the Nittany Lions. So it's up to the line to do the job for Michigan. I think they're up to the task, and I think they're going to be dangerous against this Penn State rushing attack. And I do think Michigan is going to be able to slow down Penn State enough and be composed enough offensively that they'll be able to get this win. I don't know about the spread. I don't know if they're covering that touchdown, but I do think that they are capable and built the right way to beat these Nittany Lions.
Penn State, they did also play Purdue, which, it's pretty. Purdue's got a pretty good offense. Obviously not as good as Michigan's, but Purdue put up just as many points as Michigan did on Maryland, just about. Purdue put up 31. Michigan put up 34. So it's not like Purdue is starving for playmakers or something. So Penn State did see that a little bit in week 1. They also faced Auburn, who, Auburn's certainly not great, but it is a Power 5 team that Penn State, went in there and beat Auburn at home.
Yeah, that second half was very impressive.
Those teams aren't as good as Michigan, but it's not like Penn State is just been out here beating up on the schedule that Michigan's been beating up on. Honestly, when you look at some of the teams that they faced, and I just don't think Iowa is any good. I think the defense is pretty good, but I think Iowa as a whole team is pretty bad. So I think I would take Penn State's strength of schedule like now more so than I would than Michigan's. But I mean, to that point too, right? Penn State has played some of those games close. You know, they only beat Purdue by 4. That was, again, it was on the road that they went in there and did that. But beat them by 4, beat Northwestern by 10 in a game where Penn State's offense didn't look impressive. You know, it was right before a bye week. Maybe they were looking ahead to the Michigan game, but only 17-7 in that game against Northwestern. So I think both these teams are pretty hard to read. And for Michigan, I think having the game at home is such a huge boost for them. I don't know who I'm picking to win. I do think Penn State. I think they'd be my pick now. I like some of the playmakers that they have on defense too. You know, Joey Porter Jr. is amazing. He plays a different position than his dad did, but he looks just as good in college, you know, as his dad did in the NFL. Just a fantastic player. And I know Sean Clifford gets a lot of hate, the Penn State quarterback. I don't think he's great, but I think he's good enough, and he's been there. I got to be 9-10 years at this point. And like, even if he's not great, usually when you get a quarterback like that in college who's just been there, who knows the system, who's been with the same coach the whole time, the offense runs pretty effectively. Even if this guy doesn't have, you know, the arm talent that J.J. McCarthy does. You know, it's not like Clifford's going to go in there and just make a ton of mistakes either. And, you know, Clifford's got some ability to him himself. So I think it's an interesting game. It should be a really good matchup. I think the 7.5 is too big of a spread, and I do think Penn State is actually going to win the game. But no matter who wins, I don't think it comes down to like anything that's not the last possession. I think it'll be a really kind of big back and forth type game, because what we've seen from both defenses is they have, you know, some vulnerabilities. Like, again, I know Indiana only scored 10 points against Michigan, but no, they were getting busy on some of those wide receiver screens, but they just don't have the talent that is needed. And even some of the other games that Michigan was having, you know, if you looked at the end game, are they giving up 5 yards a rush? No. It seemed like there were times where other teams were able to get drives going, and they might have had 30 rushing yards on the drive, and, you know, it ended in a punt or a missed field goal or something. But I don't know. I think both these defenses are just a little bit more vulnerable than what we're giving them credit for, and I think each offense will be able to take advantage of it. So I don't know what the over is, but I'd probably take the over.
So the over is 52.
Yeah, I'd take the over.
So with the spread being a touchdown, I think it's going to be closer than that. I think Penn State is going to be in this game until the very end. I see a 3-4 point victory for Michigan personally. So I do have Michigan with the money line, but I got Penn State covering the spread. I don't know about, the over, to me, it's close. I think it's going to be right around this number as far as a spread. 28-24, something like that. That's 52 right on the dot. It's just something I see with these two teams, because I understand what you're saying, but Penn State hasn't faced a rushing attack like Michigan. They just haven't. Purdue goes through the air. Ohio goes through the air. Auburn, while they have good backs, that offense just isn't working. It just hasn't worked outside of that first half against Penn State. They haven't done anything outside of that. In that second half, Penn State just came back and rolled all over them. So I just think Michigan's ability to ground the football and just run them down their throats, I think that's what's going to be the difference maker against this Penn State defense that hasn't been tested this way, the way that Michigan's going to bring it to the table. It's going to be a good game. And I agree with you. It can go any which way. That's why I got Penn State covering the touchdown spread. I just think Michigan's a little bit better, and when it counts, it's going to be Michigan holding up their hands at the end of the game.
I mean, yeah, but like, is Michigan is that the best recipe for their success though? Because even you look at last week against Indiana, when they were running they got into a little bit of trouble in the first half. And the second half, when they opened up the offense, obviously they never completely abandoned the run, but they opened up the offense, and that's when they're able to pour it on Indiana and really run away with that game. So I don't even know that it's in Michigan's best interest to just ground and pound the game entirely. But I would say I was looking at like a 33-30 type game. So if the spread is 54 or 52, I would take the over pretty comfortably, because I think even 28-27, that gets you there. But I think one of these teams is definitely going to pass 30. and I don't expect the other one, again, and I think it's going to be within a touchdown, certainly, but within that 3 to 4 point range that you do. So the over would be the play for me.
There you go. Ryan with the over, and you're also picking Penn State to cover the 7 touch.
Penn State definitely to cover. And like I said, I think they're going to win, but I feel more comfortable, obviously, about them covering than them winning.
So we're both picking Penn State to cover the touchdown spread. Ryan's got Penn State winning. I've got Michigan winning.
Yeah, buddy.
Ryan's comfortable with the over. I'm not. Means nothing. Take it for whatever it is. We're just giving you what we think on this game. I think it's going to be a good one, though. This one should be better, one of the better ones this week, and I think Michigan looked past Indiana a little bit.
Hey, Ryan Griffin here. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Griffin and Bass. Be sure to give us your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to click the bell to receive the latest notifications from DSN, and subscribe for breaking news, community blogs, polls, contests, and other content.